That's the first lesson of history. You know, nothing is permanent except our own demise and God. But we didn't kind of get that. You know, if you told me then that this week the Department of Justice would have indicted a group of people I don't agree with, by the way, on a lot of different issues, black nationalist socialists from Florida, okay, kind of not my demographic, but would have indicted them for criticizing the US position, the Biden administration's position on the war in Ukraine, and charged them with felonies for which they're each facing 10 years in prison. If you told me that could happen here, I would have laughed at you. No, we have a First Amendment. That can't happen here, but it has, that and a lot of other things, which are gravely unsettling, actually, in people who were rooted in the Cold War story and the reality of the Cold War, again, my age, 53, kind of know where that goes. So the purpose of my talk, which by the way, I will keep brief, I'm an inveterate talker, I can literally talk forever. You can't even imagine my capacity for loquaciousness. I mean, it has no end, it's a bottomless well. You know, if you dropped a quarter off the observation deck of the Empire State Building, how long would it take to hit the sidewalk? That was always what we talked about when we were kids. You would never hear it. In my case, I can literally go on first. So I will stop, and Kevin and I are going to have a conversation, which I think will be much more edifying. But I would just say two things about the present moment, because I think about them all the time. And I brood on this constantly. And then I take every afternoon, because fundamentally I'm Swedish, I take a sauna every day. As a rest, I do, I'm not kidding, every single day, never miss it. And my whole family does. It's like our one cultural contribution. Oh, we're Swedish, ooh, it's a very deep ethnicity. Oh yes, a lot of Swedish traditions. You should hear our comedy, it's hilarious. But the one thing I do is take a sauna to kind of get out of my head and get away from all this stuff, and I never can, and I just use my time in the sauna to brood more. But here are two conclusions I've come to, which I think are slightly less depressing than the most obvious, which is the country's really going at high speed in the wrong direction. Yeah, no kidding. Like in ways that are just unfathomable. And for people, my father's age, for example, who's 82 and such a decent man, and I could go on forever about my dad, who I saw this morning, you know, was born in an orphanage called the Home for Little Wanderers in Boston, and became a success and the head of a federal agency and served in the Marine Corps and sort of lived the America that you imagine is possible for people who are smart and try hard and all that. For people of that age, it's too much, actually. The change is too by it. I would say two things that I think we're thinking about. The first is you look around and you see so many people break under the strain, under the downward pressure of whatever this is that we're going through. And you look with disdain and sadness as you see people you know become quislings, you see them revealed as cowards, you see them going along with a new thing, which is clearly a poisonous thing, a silly thing. You know, saying things you know they don't believe because they want to keep their jobs. If there's a single person in this room who hasn't seen that through George Floyd and COVID and the Ukraine war, raise your hand. Oh, nobody? Right, you all know what I'm talking about. And you're so disappointed in people. You know, you are, and you realize that the herd instinct is maybe the strongest instinct. I mean, it may be stronger than the hunger and sex instincts, actually. The instinct, which again is inherent to be like everybody else and not to be cast out of the group, not to be shunned, that's a very strong impulse in all of us from birth. And it takes over, unfortunately, in moments like this, and it's harnessed, in fact, by bad people in moments like this, to produce uniformity. And you see people going along with this, and you lose respect for them. And that's certainly happened to me at scale over the past 3 years. I'm not mad at people, I'm just sad, I'm disappointed. How could you go along with this? You know it's not true, but you're saying it anyway? Really, you're putting your pronouns in your email? You're ridiculous. You know, but no one else thinks it's ridiculous. Oh no, it's your pronouns in the email. What does that even mean? What does it even mean? You're saying things you can't define. LBGTQIA+? Who's the plus? The plus is invited to my show anytime. Find a plus and I'll interview him. What's it like to be a plus? Am I a plus? I'm serious. I feel like I'm an addition. Does that make me a plus? No one even knows what it is. And the whole society, LGBTQIA+. All right, what's the plus? Oh, shut up, racist. Okay. So you reach that place and you feel, and this is one of the reasons, Father Scalia, I was actually overcome a little bit with emotion as you prayed, because I realized that I was so upset by the behavior of some people I love, frankly, in a country I revere and always have, that I wasn't praying for the country, that's on me, and we all should be. But back to my point. So you see the sadness happening. But there is, as there always is, this is a fact of nature and theology and of observable reality, there is a countervailing force at work always. There's a counterbalance to the badness. It's called goodness. And you see it in people. So for every 10 people who are putting he and him in their electronic JP Morgan email signatures, there's one person who's like, no, I'm not doing that. Sorry, I don't want to fight, but I'm not doing that. It's a betrayal of what I think is true. It's a betrayal of my conscience, of my faith, of my sense of myself, of my dignity as a human being, of my autonomy. I am not a slave. I am a free citizen, and I'm not doing that. And there's nothing you can do to me to make me do it. And I hope it won't come to that. But if it does come to that, here I am. Here I am. It's Paul on trial. Here I am. And you see that in people, and it's a completely unexpected assortment of people. I'm really interested in cause and effect, and as I noted at the outset of my remarks, and my ability to predict the future. Working on that. But because I'm sort of paid to predict things, I try and think a lot about, what connects certain outcomes that I should have seen before they occurred. And in this case, there is no thread that I can find that connects all of the people who've popped up in my life to be that lone brave person in the crowd who says, no, thank you. You could not have known who these people are. They don't fit a common profile. Some are people like me. Some of them don't look like me at all. Some of them are people I despised on political grounds just a few years ago. I could name their names, but you may not even know about their transformations, and I don't want to wreck your dinner by telling you who they are. But there's in one case someone who I made fun of on television, and certainly in my private life in vulgar ways, who was really the embodiment of everything I found repulsive, who in the middle of COVID decided, no, I'm not going along with this, and once you say one true thing and stick with it, all kinds of other true things occur to you. The truth is contagious. Lying is, but the truth is as well. And the second you decide to tell the truth about something, you are filled with this, I don't want to get supernatural on you, but you are filled with this power from somewhere else. Try it. Tell the truth about something. You feel it every day. The more you tell the truth, the stronger you become. That's completely real. It's measurable in the way that you feel. And of course, the opposite is also true. The more you lie, the weaker and more terrified you become. We all know that feeling. You lie about something, and all of a sudden you're a prisoner of that lie. You are diminished by it. You are weak and afraid. Drug and alcohol use is the same way. It makes you weak and afraid. But you look around and you see these people, and some of them really have paid a heavy price for telling the truth. And they are cast out of their groups, whatever those groups are, but they do it anyway. And I look on at those people with the deepest possible admiration. I am paid to do that. I face no penalty. Someone came up to me, you're so brave. Really? I'm a talk show host. It's like I can have any opinion I want. That's my job. That's why they pay me. It's not brave to tell the truth on a cable news show. And if you're not doing that, you're really an idiot. You're really craven. You're lying on television. Why would you do that? You're literally making a living to say what you think, and you can't even do that? Please. But how about if you're a senior vice president at Citibank? I'm serious. At Citibank. And you're making, $4 million a year. And you've got 3 kids in Bedford, and 2 are in boarding school, and 1 starting at Wesleyan next year. And you need this job, honestly. And your whole sector is kind of collapsing, and you know that. There is no incentive whatsoever for you to tell the truth about anything. You just go into the little re-education meetings and you're like, yeah, diversity is our strength. That's exactly right. We need equity in the capital markets. Okay, all right. So if you're the one guy who refuses to say that, you are a hero, in my opinion. And I know some of them. In fact, my job is to interview them. And I sit back and I look at these people and I give them more credit than I do people who display physical courage, which is often impulsive.
Oh, what is up, everybody? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and welcome to the Preppin Patriots live show. It's me and Cameron again, and I think we have somebody special tonight, but we'll get into that. So, wanted to see what's up. How you been doing? Your weekend? Good, bad, ugly? Did you do anything?
Oh man, yeah, we've been busy. I was in a wedding this weekend, so that was cool. You forget how much you do during weddings, especially if you're in the wedding party. I helped set up. I had. My wife made all the cakes, so she does a little bit of everything. That's what's cool about her.
Didn't she make like some stupid amount of cupcakes for this thing?
She made like 500, 600 cupcakes this weekend.
I can't imagine.
So
can't imagine.
Not including the cakes.
I can't imagine.
But so sore. I mean, we got into Sunday, and I felt broken. My legs hurt so bad. Finally woke up this morning 2 days later with it not hurting as bad, so that's cool.
I am expecting my care package in the mail of cupcakes.
Oh yeah.
I thought I was going to get it yesterday, but you might have forgot. It's cool though. I mean, it's cool if you forgot. It's no big deal.
I mean, there's still time, right?
There's still time.
I mean, did it have to be there tomorrow or yesterday or today? I don't think so. But
there's still time. There's still time. But hey, thanks everybody for joining live. If you're on live, if you have questions, comments, concerns, we do like this to be engaging. So go ahead and post those. If you're on Facebook, just leave a comment and it shows up as a chat message. We can put it on screen. We can answer questions. If you're on YouTube, use the YouTube chat. Again, we see everything on all platforms. So everything. We see it all. So don't, please be engaging, especially because we have, for the first time in Preppin Patriots live show history, our first guest. And we have Mrs. Preppin Patriot. And those of you who don't know Mrs. Preppin Patriot, it's Cameron's better half, and I will let him introduce his better half. So go ahead, Cameron.
All right. Well, first let's bring her on because I got to see her face during this whole thing.
Let's bring her on. Okay, there we go. There she is.
There. So, nope, wrong way. There we go. So, Mrs. Preppin Patriot, aka Jamie Holt, she is my better half. So, I wanted to bring her on the podcast today to talk about flower power because she learned a lot last year as we were starting to get into all of our discussions on planting, whether it be trees, whether it been our garden. And I think she kind of blossomed when it came, I mean, no pun intended, but when it comes to getting into the swing of things and getting into the garden and learning what she liked and didn't like, I think she learned a lot. So she learned a lot of what worked, what didn't work, what she wants to do next year, what she wants to do in the future here. So yeah, Jamie, you want to give us a quick introduction when you say hi? Anything special you want to talk about?
I mean, I don't know what else I have to say.
Okay.
Make me sound like this awesome person. So good job.
Yeah, great job. You get points. There's some points in the jar. So before we get into like this topic we're talking about, I can't like flowers really like I can't do it, but I know that they're important. So, but before we get into the flower part of things, and in last live show, we're kind of on this series of prepping for the long haul, and we kind of identified the long haul. What does the long haul mean for those of you who missed, like who didn't see the last show? The long haul basically is if disaster hits, you have your basic emergency supplies, 6 months worth of food, water, whatever, 3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever. The long haul starts when that junk runs out. That's when your long haul starts. And in the first part of this long haul series, we talked about basically perennial fruits, perennial vegetables, perennial plants, things that you don't have to like reseed every year. They just kind of, you plant them once and they come back and they just keep coming on back. So we talked about that. And then when Cameron mentioned something about flowers, I was like, I know flowers bring bees and pollinators, but what else do they do other than look pretty? I don't care about prettiness when crap hits the fan. I really could care less how good my garden looks. So please convince me, what does a flower have to do with prepping? Somebody.
Okay, well, I think that's
well,
why I'm here, right? Is
Yeah.
that part
Yeah.
of my job? Okay.
That's what we're paying
First
you
off,
for.
I do also. Oh, wait, I'm getting paid for this?
In
Hold
love.
on.
In love by your husband.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, first of all, we have not figured out how to ship cupcakes. I need to just preface with that. We're working on it, okay? We're working on it. We'll get there. And it was 400 cupcakes, but there's another 200 to make this weekend. So
Well,
fine.
there was 400 for the wedding, and then you made like another
Oh.
100 prior to that, right?
Yes, for a friend's
So.
going away party. But yeah, so
Yeah.
okay, now as Mrs. Preppin Patriot, I have to tell you that I'm probably the person that Cam had to convince the most about why
Oh,
we
that's
should have
true.
certain flowers in the garden, why certain things should happen, right? So I was the person he had to convince all the time. Now, the first one that we started with was marigolds. So that was the first one because he told me. He said, "Listen, so where we are not in the country, like we're not in the city. We're kind of in the in-between. So we get deer.
Suburbs.
Yeah. Is that what we call it? I don't know.
Yeah.
So we get
suburbia.
deer.
Sorry.
Listen.
Go ahead.
Okay. Don't ask me north, south, east, west. I don't know. Where's Target? I can tell you that. But he said we get deer, we get rabbits, we have coyotes. Like we have all sorts of animals out here that we have to protect our hard work in our garden. And I was like, okay, whatever. So we started with marigolds. Now, we went overboard with marigolds. So I know that Cameron has talked about his cement blocks that he uses for planting. So in every single one of those squares in a cement block, we planted at least one marigold seed. We did not know that they were going to just explode. Like it was marigold central. So they were beautiful. I will tell you. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and the one other thing to keep in mind though is when we planted them, we did it for the idea of just keeping out deer and rabbits, but we didn't really think it through on how big are these going to get compared to the things that we're actually harvesting. So the potatoes over on this side and the tomatoes over on this side. When you plant marigolds that are only going to get to 6 to 10 inches tall versus the other side of the garden where you're planting marigolds that get 18 to 24 inches tall, it kind of gets in the way of you actually gardening and getting that accomplished. So
that was
just want to add that piece in there.
And that was my question. And Cam, you answered like, what's a marigold? I get it's a type of flower, but you just mentioned like some marigolds they grew to 6 inches and others grew to like 18. Is that
That's a thing. That's a real thing.
Different lengths or
I can't
different
remember
kinds.
what they were called. Do you remember what?
Incan something or other. I'll get while Mrs. Preppin Patriot talks, I'll pull up what we purchased. But yeah, it's just like you have your apples and your pears and your peaches. You got different varieties of everything. Same thing for flowers. If you want yellow versus orange versus whatever, but there's also your petites, which is your tiny ones that go, and then all the ones to it was like Mayan or Incan or something like that. And those suckers were huge. I mean, they were literally 18 to 24 inches, and they went up as tall as our potato plants, which, as you know, get super, super tall when they're greening out. So
these things, they keep stuff away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Rabbits,
that makes sense.
Deer.
Okay, that makes sense because I know, like in my garden, when I actually get around to it and it stops raining and all that stuff, like I'm gonna have like an electric, I'm doing to keep the deer out. I'm doing an electric fence. I'm doing all kinds of stuff. But I guess if we're in like a grid down scenario where there is no more power because the sun unleashed hell on earth, for us, I guess it makes sense that to have the knowledge to, okay, deer are still gonna be here when this stuff goes down, so you got to have a way to protect those crops, and putting up a simple fence isn't going to work because they can jump pretty darn high. And you could put up like, I don't know, unless you have access to like 12-foot fencing that you want to wrap around your garden, but most people don't. So that makes sense. So marigolds keep deer away. Is that because of the scent? Because of the
smell?
The smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't smell good. Like they are a flower that they don't smell good.
Are there any
Now,
other? Are there any other?
And that's what
do they
Jamie.
have any other purposes?
They
I mean,
do
they
have
do look
medicinal
pretty.
purposes as well.
Okay.
They do look pretty, yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. But there is a medicinal purpose. So that was another learning curve that I had. And we didn't get to fulfill that because I messed up learning, right? But you harvest the seeds from marigolds. So you let them dry. So you pluck all of them and you let them dry, and then you pluck the flower petals off, which will leave you with the seed. And the seeds are long. They're ridiculously long. And then you can turn those things into teas. You can turn them into, different pastes to help with different wounds. So marigolds have a lot of medicinal benefits as well. So that was one of the things we're like, well, maybe we can try a tea, or maybe we can try, let's see if it works as some kind of an antibacterial thing. Or while we still have the capability that if that didn't work, okay, we actually can go get an antibacterial ointment from the closet, no big deal. So, but again, like I said, I failed. So I plucked all of them, and then I did not get back to them. So they went into a plastic bag. That plastic bag went into the garage. The garage eats everything of ours. You can't ever find it again. So Cam found them, I don't know, maybe 2 months later, and they were just rotted and disgusting and smelled atrocious. It was gross.
Yeah.
So did not work. So again, the learning curve that we had there. But like he said, it was another thing for us though as well. Just we had all these marigolds to harvest that we needed to get out. So we made bouquets for the boys' teachers. I think it was my aunt's birthday. So we made her a bouquet. We were also able to not have to go out and buy, a flower bouquet from Costco or whatever. They were provided as a beauty. And so, I was shocked to hear all the things that marigolds were good for, but I don't feel like we had any rodent problems or anything like that. We did find a newt at one point in the garden, and it scared the living bejesus out of me.
A newt? Is that like a goblin?
It looks like it. It's gross. Okay.
No, a newt. So, Jamie, the newt is the salamander. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about the shrew. A shrew was the other thing. A newt was the little black salamander. Yes, you did see that, but you also discovered a newt or a shrew for the first time. And shrews are like a mouse, shiny haired, long snout kind of thing that like to burrow under the ground and make trails and all that kind of stuff. So
is that a picture of the flowers on your screen?
Oh yeah. So if you want to share my screen,
here we go. Oh wait. Oh, my Stream Deck isn't working. Here we go. Guest screen share. Boom. There we go.
Yeah, there they are.
So here's a good example of, we had already pulled all the the potatoes out. So it was just the flowers left over. There you can see the remnants of this gargantuan tomato plant. We still have seeds of these, and I'm super excited to plant them again this year. But this thing was like 6 feet wide, 6 feet tall. It would have kept on going higher and higher had we let it. But I trimmed it, and these were the trimmings afterwards. That's how massive it was. Oh. But you can actually see, here's a good example. Some of them are orange, some of them are red. Jamie, didn't you learn something about the color of marigolds and the benefits? Is it like the darker or the orange or the darker the marigold? I want to say it was something along the lines of darker marigolds have more medicinal properties than the lighter ones. But anyways, you can see how these are like little, just little bushels to hold in your hand. Yeah. Whereas we had some other ones here that grew up really, really tall. And then you had big blooms. So here you go. Here's a good height difference. Little tiny one. This one was double the height.
Wow.
And you can see there was one actually in here that was kind of peeking through. That was the issue we ran into, is we planted them, we alternated every other one. So when this tomato plant took over, we were having to sort through the marigold to get the tomatoes. So something to keep in mind. But they were really nice when we made little, for the teachers, or this was a little bouquet I made for our friends they had just gotten engaged, and I had never met the new wife to be, and I was like, I would just want to do a little welcome to the friends group kind of thing, take a bottle of wine, pluck some flowers. So it was nice being able to be able to do that, because I had them laying around. Same with Jamie, and you did it for you did it for the teachers, but I don't remember why or reason for it.
It was just a random, I needed to get rid of them. So instead of cutting them up and letting them sit somewhere, it wasn't. So, okay, I feel like I have to say that.
I thought it was like a teacher appreciation.
Elementary education. No. But my background is in education. I went to school to be a teacher. So I have the hugest respect for our teachers. And Connor and I, our oldest, we actually just had a huge conversation about that tonight in the car. Like, we had a huge political discussion. It's weird to have a conversation like that with our oldest. I don't feel like he's old enough yet to have those conversations, but it was a full-on conversation. We talked about, like, the mortgage thing and how we're going to get docked because we have good credit and we've done everything we can to make sure that we're doing good things with our money.
Yeah.
And his response was, that's crap. That's ridiculous. And I said, good, keep that perspective.
Good.
But I told him too, because then of course he's sharing his opinions about, like, this person's dumb and this person's dumb. And I said, I need you to make sure that you can back up that comment with data. Why is that person dumb? Why do you not agree with this? Why? Like, I said, learn that now, bro. Like, if you can learn that at 10 years old and you can stand up for what you believe in and have the cold, hard facts behind it, I said, that's what your dad does. So don't, but it was having those full on conversations with him, and also being able to tell him, like, this is why we do everything that we do. Like, this is why we do all the gardening and the things that we're learning, and we're still growing. Like, we're just in a different piece of our education. We're now hands-on, and let's get into it. Let's learn about why we should plant marigolds or why we should plant dandelions. I mean, we had a full conversation about that with Cameron's sister, Sierra. She said, my dad won't let me plant dandelions. They're weeds. And
they are
that
weeds.
Was something that Cameron and
they are weeds.
You will never see me purposely planting a freaking dandelion. I don't care what properties they have. I don't care if they cure cancer. They will not be in my yard.
They do have a really good medicinal benefit.
Yes. They're a great.
Go to your neighbor's yard to get their
actually,
dandelions.
Yes. But, I mean, that was one of the birthday gifts that we sent his sister was, I don't think it was just dandelions. I think it was like a medicinal herb flower kit. So it did have dandelions in it. But it was I think so many people forget that there are things out there that are literally growing in your backyard.
Yeah.
That you can bind down into a paste and you can rub it on that open wound or whatever. And it's a natural remedy instead of going to the drugstore and getting something that is so packed full of who knows what now. Yeah. Like, you have a natural remedy right in front of you. So.
And that's a good point to point out. And I'll be the first to say I'm guilty. I'm guilty as charged, and we said we're going to be talking about flowers. I'm like, I don't care about flowers. I care about guns, ammo, food, water, all that stuff. I don't care about flowers. However, and that's what a lot like this. I don't suspect this is going to be a very popular episode because people just don't think that way. They don't think about how plants, like before there was big pharma, we got a lot of our medicines from plants, and we still do. They just powderize it and charge you $1,500 for something that comes out of the ground for practically free. So it's one of those things in preparedness. It's good to have that knowledge base of different, and what I'm learning here and what I'm like now getting on board with, not that I wasn't on board, but is that I may look a little bit more and research this a little bit more into what flowers or what things can I put in my garden, not just to help the garden and keep keep the things I want away and bring the things in I want brought in. But how can I multi-purpose this stuff for some medicinal things? And the medicinal plant thing scares the living crap out of me, because you watch those movies where somebody eats a berry and they die. It's like if I mess this up, if I identify the wrong thing and I put it on like a wound that I have, and then it turns into like skin cancer or something, like those are the things that I fear. So I just was like, I'll just but I'm turning around here.
So two more items when we were talking about marigolds. So first off, I did find out what they were called. I ordered them from Urban Farmer or ufseeds.com. But I actually got 4 different kinds. There was a Petite Mix Gold or a Petite Mix set that was oranges and yellows and reds and all that kind of stuff. So that was the ones the little tiny bushels that were growing. So those were nice. But it was the orange Inca 2 and the yellow Inca 2. And I mean, they're cheap. I mean, a packet of Petite Mix, I can't remember how many came in the packet. I want to say like 50 seeds or something like that. It was $3. Now these were 20 for 100 seeds. But I've got them for a while now. And I also got...
We didn't use them all either.
I think we only used like 20 of the oranges and 20 of the yellows because we wanted to see how they were. Do we like them? Do we not like them? So Jamie quickly learned she did not like the smell of them, especially more along the lines of when having to pick them and touch them and that kind of stuff. But marigolds are a natural deterrent for mosquitoes. I mean, so when you're looking at mosquitoes, and I hate mosquitoes, and keeping away when I'm gardening is a big deal to me. So it did keep them away. I could tell when we were picking the potatoes and that kind of stuff that we did notice less of them, but it wasn't as good as when we were using citronella. Now, citronella is fantastic. It's a perennial. It comes back year after year. Plant that around, I think I talked about that in a previous episode or podcast.
You talked about citronella.
But I mean, just seriously, plant that around like every pond, every lake, every whatever, so that those suckers never spawn again. I could do dandelions. I can't do mosquitoes. Those are the bane of my existence. I'm like super sweet. And I know there's some study out there that shows...
he just bypassed that. He just went right through that comment.
He just was like, I'm super
so sweet.
Let me tell you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not here to spill our tea, okay? I'm not here to spill our tea.
So I can tell you, though, that there is some kind of study out there, and I didn't get a chance to read it, but they have spent more and more time trying to figure out why mosquitoes are attracted to certain people. And I think they ended up finding out something relating to like those type of people. So I could be a good type of person or a bad type of person.
Didn't you find something too that it was something about your blood type? Like your blood type?
That might have been it.
Yeah. So, 'cause I'm perfect over here because I'm A positive. I'm an A plus. So I'm perfect. So they don't like me.
And I like to be positive. So that's why I always, be positive. Yeah, she's
bad dad
I don't know.
Right there.
But citronella, marigold, lavender, catmint, rosemary, and basil. So if you're just doing your normal herbs, I mean, we love growing basil. It grows super easy. You just plant that and it will just keep on coming. And pick it early. That's
basil?
probably the other thing that, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you screw up basil, then there's no hope for you. There is literally no hope for you in post-world society if you can't grow basil.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times it died and came back because I just didn't do anything with it. But it also comes back so fast. Pick however much you can, let it dry, and then you can refill your spice container as much as you want. That was my biggest thing for like parsley. I think it was just parsley that we did. It grows so fast, but I picked that off and then tied a rubber band around the base of them, the stalks, and just hang them up in the basement to let them dry.
Yeah.
We had probably, I don't know, 30 stalks of parsley, dried them all up, stuck them into a bag and just smashed all the leaves and then pulled out the stalks. and then grinded it into a powder, and now we've got it. We didn't do a full powder, but you're able to easily restock your. It's annoying. You go to the store and you go to buy some parsley, and you pay $9.75 for a jar of parsley.
No, it's not that much, is it?
I know. I'm just with inflation, it's going to be
like
by next year.
$3.
Just saying, inflation, it's going to go up. So, but still,
No, I get it.
You plant it for 25 cents, and you're going to get a year's worth easily.
Yeah. Rosemary is another one I thought I heard of, is because it's a plant that I think is a perennial, because it doesn't really, if you keep it from, what was the video I watched? She's like, I've had this rosemary plant for 15 years, and the thing looked like one of my bushes out in the front yard. It was freaking huge of rosemary. I'm like, I love rosemary. I love cooking with rosemary. I didn't know it had medicinal purposes, but apparently it does. I don't know what those are. There's a lot of things that I'm like natural herbs that have other purposes
Rosemary,
other than cooking, and that I didn't know about.
Here's the top 20 perennial. Go ahead.
Well, I feel like too, I don't know if I can say it. We're going to say it. But so Cam and I watch Alone all the time. It's now, I think it's on the History Channel is what it's on. Are you proud of me for talking about this?
I am so proud of you.
So there was a couple seasons ago, we're obviously not on the most current season, but a couple of seasons ago, there was a woman that she has MS. Now, obviously, I have to say it, like, we can't tell you that this is going to cure your MS. It's going to prevent you from getting MS or prevent you from getting some disease or whatever. But she was a complete herbalist. So she did not, I think she took her MS medicine because they're allowed to take their medications on the show. But she treated herself.
Nope, not allowed to take medications for the show. So, and she...
That's kind of hardcore there.
Yeah. Well, it's because they don't allow you to come on the show if you have any health effect or health issues where you have to have your medications. You're only allowed 10 items on the show. So obviously you're not going to sign away that, if I have to take my medicine, I'm not going to go on the show and die because I can't take my medicine. So if you do have MS or heart issues or that kind of stuff, you're signing that I understand that I can't take my medications with me and yada, yada, yada. But she said that since she lived around, at home, she had those plants around her and readily available at all times. She's been using those plants instead of medicines for so long. But sorry, Jamie, go ahead and finish your story. I just want to say that.
Well, but she did, yeah. So this season they were in Patagonia, which is a common spot for Alone. So if you love to see Patagonia, you should watch Alone. It's amazing. But she showed, like, that was one of the coolest things, was she said, this is, obviously I don't know what they were called, but she would show, this is this herb, and this herb does this benefit for my MS. Like, and if I can continue to stay on this herb, then my MS will stay under control. Like, so she was amazing at sharing the different things that were out. Yes. Yeah. And it wasn't just about her MS, it was this will help you with your cholesterol. This will help you with, it was all of those things that we see now that so many people have an issue with. And she was saying, if you take, rosemary, I can't remember what medicinal benefits it has, but if you take rosemary, you can do this. Like, and then there was another girl that she had 3 spider bites on her legs. They were nasty spider bites. Like, she should have called in. She should have said, I need to get off the show because they were infected. They were bad. But she found whatever herb it was and turned it into a paste, and she put it on her leg, put a Band-Aid, like put a cotton swab on it or whatever, and taped it down. And the next day she took it off. It was black. Like, it had taken all of that nastiness out. Like, it was amazing. And she stayed on the show for another 3 weeks.
Yeah. So the spider's poison actually extracted the spider's poison out of the wound. And that's why it was all black, because it had pulled all the poison out from the spider. So
why,
really cool.
Why do you think, because I'm hearing this. Remember, I started the show off by saying I'm not a flower guy. No, but I'm hearing all this and I'm like, okay, my mind's working and it's going, why aren't more people not talking about this? Why aren't the prepping channels and some of the other things, why aren't they not talking about this? And I have a follow-on comment, but I'll let you respond.
You respond first, Jamie. I got my own idea or reason.
So I think that people look at flowers as that's something I can put in a bouquet. That's something that I put on my Thanksgiving dinner table to make it look pretty. That's how I first looked at flowers. I was like, so when we got married, I carried peonies in my bouquet. So I told him, I said, at some point in time, I want peonies on our property. And if you don't know this, peonies attract ants galore. So you shouldn't put them near your house because you're going to have ants in your house. But that's what I want. I want to have these beautiful flowers and have something pretty all the time. Now I'm on a mission of, okay, I see that flowers are beautiful. So they provide the beauty aspect of it, which for me, like I won't say it's not. It's a good factor for me. Like I want it to look pretty. But now I'm looking at it as like, what can that turn into? So I use rose water every single day. It goes on my face. You can't tell because I have makeup on, but I have redness on my nose, on my cheeks. I've always had it. I don't know why. Like it's just there. If you didn't know, rose water has amazing benefits. So using it every day, the redness on my face has gone down. When Cameron gets sunburnt, I don't know if you notice this, but Cameron is the whitest white boy in the world. So I love him so much. But he's white, like 100%.
Yeah.
So he burns in 0.2 seconds. Okay. So rose water, like when we went to Mexico on the trip, rose water was the one thing I made sure that I packed. I didn't care about anything else. I knew I was going to need rose water because it will take the sting away from the burn. So I think people just have this, I don't know if superficial is the word for it, but they have a superficial aspect of it where it's just, oh, that's a pretty thing. A rose is very pretty. It's what my grandma planted. Like this is a piece of her rose bush. But then what they don't realize is you can break that rose down and you can turn it into rose water. You can turn it into a natural perfume. You can put it in cupcakes. You can bake with it. You can do so many things with it besides just put it in a vase and stare at it and say, wow, look how pretty it is. And I think people just don't see that. They just see that it's a pretty object and that's all it is.
Remind me to come back to the baking comment. Remind me to come back to that. But Cameron, go ahead and respond to that.
Yeah, I think it's nobody's taught anymore what the different benefits are. And if they are taught, they see it as that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. I don't have the time to deal with that, even though people have time. If they want to figure it out, if they want to do it, if they want to learn the skill, they'll learn the skill, they'll figure it out. It's just like if you're going to do weight loss or if you want to do a hobby or activity, you'll put the time into it to make it work. But there is a lot of learning behind it. And I think it's intimidating for people where if they know that there's beneficial properties to plants, but I have to try to figure that out. I don't know where to go. There's also a little bit of laziness to it. Some people are good with Google. Some people are good with books. I think to me, it's either intimidating or they have no clue because it's not taught in schools. It's not taught in college. It's not taught in, a lot of people don't pass that on to their kids because they don't know because they were never taught. So most people don't know where their things come from today. They don't know how food is grown. And we didn't even know ourselves until we started planting. I didn't know how potatoes were grown. I didn't know how garlic or whatever, you name the plant. Didn't know that asparagus was a perennial that comes back year after year and then you just snip it at the bottom and then it regrows from the same thing. You don't know that until you actually figure it out. So people aren't going to figure out how do I make Tylenol, how do I make Advil until they're actually asked the question, do you know what's in this? Do you know how it's made? Do you know that you can actually go find plants that do the exact same thing for you? So that first time that somebody learns about elderberries and what they kind of health benefits those have, or the first time somebody learns that, I think that's why people really like those shows on History Channel or whatever that show, like, how was it made? How do we make Twinkies? How do you make the McDonald's chicken nuggets? How do you make the whatever? They find the most expensive things out there that, businesses are driving, but they'll never go into the medicinal side of the house because nobody's going to ever want to show that.
Yeah. No one's going to ever want to show that. And my perspective on it being a fresh perspective now because I'm being educated right now. So my perspective on it is this. Like, listen, I am not anti-pharma. I am not anti like drugs and all that stuff. I'm not anti that. I do believe that there's some bad things happening on the pharma side, but I'm not like anti-pharma. I love my Excedrin. Oh my gosh, because I get migraines.
Oh my gosh,
from
same
migraines all the time. I love my Excedrin. We are stockpiling Excedrin, like stockpiling it, not to share either because I get migraines a lot. However, this whole idea of okay, well, eventually I can't stock I can't stock enough Excedrin to last me the rest of my life because the stuff, you know, if it sits for 20 years, it loses its effectiveness. It loses all of this stuff. So if I can find something that helps with my migraines to plant, great. Furthermore, I think people, and you guys hit it on the head, like people don't either know, they don't understand what's going on, like how to like that. Oh my gosh, I can grind these rose petals up and make a rose water and help with my sunburns and all. Like people don't understand, and that seems easy. Like let me just grind a couple flowers up or however you make it, but that seems like a pretty easy thing to do. Roses are easy, they grow, blah 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 blah. This is not hard. This doesn't seem to be like very hard stuff. You just have to like know your plants, and you don't have to know them all right away. Start with marigolds like you guys did. Start with roses. Start with something, I guess, to plant. I know after this conversation, I think I'm going to do a lot more research on this topic because I would love to test some of this. Like I know, like Jamie, you mentioned that you can eat some of these things, and I've heard this from other places too. I've heard this that you can actually, like, some of these flowers are edible. You can use them in baking, and they actually not only maybe provide a health benefit, but some of these things can actually elevate the flavor profile of certain things that you eat and give you all kinds of benefits. But in today's society, we're so McDonald's, Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A driven. Like, I don't even think it's a matter of like people are against this. I just think we're so blinded by like the advancements of our society that this is almost like a lost art. Herbalism is like a lost art, kind of like alchemism is a lost art. Making medicines from things that come out of the earth. I mean, that's how we got Big Pharma in the first place. They just powderized it, and then it kind of went to where it is now, which it's all grown in a lab and genetically modified. And, you know, they make us take mRNA stuff and clot our blood. I'm not going to get into the COVID thing. In any case, so.
And with that.
Yeah, and with that, I think it was you that recommended. Was it you that recommended that Netflix documentary? No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was you. The one about the mRNA causing blood clots that are like these fibers. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I said I'm now an anti-vaxxer.
So two things. One, I just have to prove a point here. If you want to share my screen, you'll clearly see a 0.35 ounce of dried chopped parsley is $4.79. 0.35 of an ounce, which, you know, you're an American, you probably don't know what an ounce is. It's a small amount, like a handful. Okay, just small little thing. So fresh parsley, 99 cents a bunch. Okay, a bunch is, you know, if you were to hold a small tiny bouquet, you know, like 4 pencils in your hand, that's what a bunch is, which grows in about 3.5 days, 4 days. Okay.
And this never made sense to me in my head, right? So you have I see 3 types of parsley, 4 types actually. I see I'm not going to get into the dried stuff. I see the curly parsley. I see the containerized one that you mentioned. And then right next to that, I see, you can just buy a potted parsley plant for $3.29, less than what you can buy the actual like bold version, which I don't know. If I'm in the store and I see all 3 of those side by side, I'm not going for the bowl. Like that's just the thing. I am not going for the bowl of parsley because I have no idea what was put in that bowl. And I see that a lot. Like you go to the herb section of the grocery store and you see the organic herbs that are in like these toothpaste looking things that look like, it looks nasty, but they're like $8. It's like, why would anybody?
It's organic.
Why would
organic?
What do they? Yeah, but it's surrounded by Jello.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I mean,
Well, and I think too, people don't realize in order to get the word organic put on an item, it's not hard. Like, it's not hard at all. And that was something that I've learned over the last couple of years, because I came home one time and I was like, I think it was last year. I said, hey, I bought organic bell peppers, so we should take these seeds and we can plant them in the garden. And he went, no, that's not happening, because you realize, like, that organic bell pepper probably came from, you know, who knows where, and it was processed this way. And he said the only reason it's organic is because it went through 2 extra steps. That's it. Like, you know, obviously I don't know if that's like what the steps are and things like that. But to get the word organic is not, it's like people paying for the blue check mark now to become verified on Facebook. Okay. For an extra $15 a month, you can become verified on Facebook. It does nothing else for you. Like, it's the same way with buying an organic bell pepper. It's no different. Like, it's not. Grow it in your garden, and it's organic.
So it's a marketing thing, is what you're saying.
Yes.
It is.
100%.
Yes. It's the same thing with. Go ahead.
I was going to say it's kind of like the same thing that they did with. I watched this documentary on chickens, how they claim that if pasture raised chickens or whatever the marketing thing, all that the FDA or whoever sets those parameters requires is that the chickens, it doesn't matter how many, you could have 1,000 chickens in a barn. All they need is a 3 foot by 3 foot area that's outside, and they can be considered organically raised chickens.
Yes. Yep.
So it's all marketing.
Same with your beef, 100% grass fed and that kind of stuff. But you got to think, if you start going down the rabbit hole of the rain and the chemicals contained within the rain, like Roundup, the chemical for killing off weeds, we've got that in our ecosystem that's constantly rotating and circling around, that you won't actually be able to get that out of our water and out of our atmosphere for the next 50 years if it stops being used today.
That's not a thing, right?
From everywhere.
That's not.
That is. No, it is. Look it up. Oh, man. You will learn something today when you look that up.
No, that's not a thing. I
promise you.
The Earth has
That's
a natural
why people are doing.
The Earth Mother Earth can filter things.
Roundup seeps into the ground. It seeps into water. It seeps into. I'm telling you, just look it up. Just look up Roundup and the effects that it has on our atmosphere and our environment today.
So instead of the global warming people that want to complain about freaking cow farts, but they're not raising heck about Roundup, come on.
Yeah. You can look at that from any aspect.
Sure.
I won't even go into it, but they're hypocrites in every possible way. You can look at it from every aspect. If you're looking at it from, I want to say all the things. I don't want to go into the rant for this, but I'm going to just hold it. I'm going to hold it.
I had to hold myself back on the rant.
Which means I'm going to hear it in 20 minutes when we go climb in bed.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that the show, we made a decision not to talk about like news and politics, but there's nothing in our bylaws that says we can't have a 2-minute rant about something. I mean,
we can do whatever we want. That's our podcast and freedom of speech. And I don't know if you guys all know that, but that's a thing in this is America.
It's America.
I want to call out some perennial herbs since we're on the topic of herbs and plants and that kind of stuff. But you may not know that these are perennials. So
now wait, hold on.
It's not on this sheet. Sorry, it's not on the sheet.
Can you take 1 minute? Okay, because Cameron and I always have to have the same conversation ourselves. Okay, so first easy thing, the difference between an annual and a perennial. Okay, an annual is something that will die. After it runs its life cycle of that year, it will die. It will not come back. A perennial will come back year over year and continue to run its life cycle. So I feel like we had to start with that. I'm sorry. Now you can continue.
No worries.
Thank you for calling that out.
Yeah, because some people may not know that. And I know I talked about it in the previous podcast, but they're watching it now. So some of these perennial herbs, you've got creeping thyme, which honestly I've never heard of, but I'm sure it exists. Lovage I've never heard of. here's your basic herbs. Oregano, super delicious, easy. Just pluck off a few pieces, stick it into your pasta, stick it into your sauces. Same with parsley. Parsley is so easy to grow. You cut it with scissors at the base, just like lettuce, just like spinach, just like whatever, and it comes right back up. I want to say it's like 4 to 5 days, and you have fresh new stalks almost. Lemon verbena. I want to grow this really bad. Same with lemongrass and lemon balm. Just the smell is glorious. When you're walking outside and you get fresh, we can't grow lemon trees. We can't grow any kind of citrus things where we're at. But when you can get that like lemon tropical smell, it's fantastic. Marjoram, I wish I knew more. Don't know much about it. But there's the lemon balm, fennel. Fennel's great with chicken. Yeah. So, for your chicken coming up. Sage, mint. Mint is interesting. I learned a lot about mint and how last year I was using a chocolate mint. I had a chocolate mint growing on my back deck. Mint is part of a certain family. I don't have it in this page, but mint is part of a family that it spreads just like strawberries. I mean, it spreads like wildfire. It will just crawl out and keep growing and growing and growing. You never want to plant mint just in the ground in your garden. It will wreak havoc. It grows uncontrollably. Oh. But I realize that. If you keep it in a container, it's delicious. So the chocolate mint actually tastes like double mint gum. So every day when I went out to the garden, I would pluck off a leaf, throw it in my mouth, and then you get the health benefits of it. It tastes fantastic. Highly recommend. Lavender, Roman chamomile. Lavender, if you learn how to press that. Lavender is, I know, one of the most lucrative cash farms today. Because I was looking at what things can I grow to make a lot of money if I end up buying a bunch of land and want to grow something. It takes time, if I remember right, to get lavender to grow as much as you would need to press. But I want to say it's like top 10 cash crops out there. You may not know that. So, Roman chamomile, great for going to sleep. And it's also got some pain components to it. Don't know much about the rest of the stuff, unfortunately. Chives. Yeah, that one's great. Cilantro. I don't have any kind of onion this year, and that's what I really need to get started on my garden. But it's been raining nonstop. It's been cold. It went back to being snow again. Yeah. It's really ticked me off, but we have a lot of plans for herbs this year. Garlic chives, which sounds fantastic. There's your rosemary you're talking about. And then winter savory. I've heard a lot about this. But yeah. Okay. Add to stews and lamb dishes. So
have you guys ever tried to add, because a lot of this stuff that they say with flowers and certain herbs and stuff, you can make teas and all that. Have you ever tried to make yourself like legitimate herbal tea and drink it?
That's what I'm going to be doing this year. Okay. So I have that on the docket for this year, and I have in my storage closet a packet of, I don't want to really open it up, so I might just buy a new packet on Amazon because it's my survival cache of seeds where it's Mylar bagged and all that kind of stuff. But I do have a tea package just for every kind of possible tea you want to make, because I'm moving further and further away from coffee. I love coffee. Trust me, I love coffee. But I like my teas as well. I'm a big Earl Grey tea kind of guy.
You look like an Earl Grey kind of tea kind of guy.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. So I do want to get more of those flowers and start collecting them. I want to try dandelion tea, even though it just sounds gross. But I know there's a lot of benefits to it. No, so
there's not.
Anyways,
it's a lie.
We will be doing it this year, and I will bring it up on a podcast. Tried this today. Do's and don'ts. Stuff like that.
I said it last podcast, and I'll say it again this one. I will figure out a way to grow coffee beans with aquaponics. I will aquaponic that junk to death and heat. I don't care what temperature it is. I will make sure that whatever room I put this aquaponic system in, because you got to realize that aquaponics, right? That water is a big, that's a big insulator of heat and all that. So you can get a room in the wintertime, because I did this when I did it in my garage. Uninsulated garage is like 90 degrees in wintertime. Like, you can get it hot. But you kind of need power to do that. So.
Well, and you're missing another element. I'm pretty sure it's height as well. Most coffee is grown in the upper elevations.
Wait, really?
Pretty sure. I'm going to look it up right now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, then
right now.
It's fine. It's no big deal, because that's just density altitude. So I will figure out a way to lower the pressure. I'll lower the pressure.
I'm going to set up a chamber vac in my basement.
Vac in the basement. And I told you, this is a life commitment. I will figure out how to grow coffee. And when I finally science the crap out of this, I will sell it and retire.
I'm going to get a text message from your wife that says, like, you would not believe what he is doing right now. He has bought an airplane, and he's, like, trying to turn it into some kind of a chamber. Like, I'm just waiting for the text messages to come from your wife.
You could do a self-propelled drone plane with solar. They've got doomsday movies on it where it's like one of those hunter-seeker drones that are just up in the air that at a certain elevation just keeps on going.
Keeps on
with
going.
The sun to keep the propellers going. Sorry, wife.
We'll do it. We digress.
I feel like I have to say at this point, this is where Mrs. Preppin Patriot checks out. Because I'm like, I don't understand anything you're talking about. This sounds like a lot of money. This sounds like a lot of time that we don't have. Like, I don't.
Hey,
I will fix my flowers. I'm good.
I will tell you what I tell my wife. You cannot put a price on preparedness.
Yeah, what he said.
And don't listen to me, people. Like, literally, I am the worst example and role model for prepping. So don't listen to anything I say. I'm just here for the comic.
Well, but the two of you, though, are great examples of how a normal human being can still make the moves to be prepared. So again, if it is you're starting your garden, like getting your own stuff going, if it is now, like, I mean, you know, you're over here, you're going to become a florist with all the flowers that you're going to grow now. Like, if that's going to be what it takes, and it's just, as we've said, we're all still learning. Like, last year, I literally was like, I totally wasted all those marigolds. Like, oh, well, we're going to learn. We're going to move on. We're going to find something else. And even now, like, if someone is trying to figure out how to bring more medicinal flowers into their life or medicinal herbs, like, literally any, like, seed catalog, okay? Find a seed catalog. You will be able to see all your fruits, all your vegetables, whatever. There's an entire, in ours, there's at least an entire flower section. And Google, like, as of now, we still have the resource. So Google it. Like, if you're not sure, what's the medicinal benefit of lavender? Like, we use lavender on our house all the time because I am a stress ball of anxiety, like 100%. So it's lavender all the time in our house because I'm just like,
helps with stress, helps with sleep, helps with, there's a lot of components.
Inflammation. Yes, inflammation. Like, so just Googling, like, if you know, like, I drink peppermint tea at night because peppermint tea gives me something that will calm me. Peppermint is good for your, like, your breathing,
gastrointestinal
system, that word,
respiratory,
gastrointestinal, like, so finding those different things and then, you know, pairing it with, like, we have honey from a friend that has a beehive, so we have local bees that we get honey from, so it's peppermint tea and honey at night. Like, that's the perfect concoction to put me to sleep. Like,
peppermint helps with headaches and migraines. Peppermint helps with stomach issues, so I use it because I've got GERD and all that kind of stuff, and I'm sure I only have that because of the food and crap that I eat and put in my body all the time, because I know when I eat right, when I'm not stressing out about crap or work or whatever, I don't have the stomach issues. So yeah, we've started learning different plants and their benefits, oils, you know, as we're buying more oils and testing out the different medicinal properties of them and how it helps us. That's been helping a lot as well. But I do want to show,
like, I don't even know that. We've got random.
We got different brands.
So I have lemon and,
yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, this is still the same brand. This is still
Oh,
the brand that we switched to. But I've got lemon and I have cedarwood in my office. I don't know why I have those in my office because those aren't ones that would be something I would
lemon
put in a
helps with
diffuser right now.
lemon helps with anti-inflammatory. It helps with asthma and breathing, and it also helps with, I think, migraines as well. Helps keep you awake. But I wanted to show this document that Mrs. Preppin Patriot put together. I haven't spreadsheet the crap out of it yet and, put drop downs and spring and all that kind of crap yet. But I will. I just got this. Yeah. Like I added this where it's perennial and annual for a drop down. But I plan on having like the different bloom times all be drop downs, when to plant being drop downs, the types. But these are some of the ones that she's gone through the magazine to figure out what she wants to plant outside. But one thing I want to add in here is a column for medicinal properties. Like, what does this help with, if it does help with anything? And then I have a type here because I want to know, is this a plant for looks? Is it a plant for selling? Is it a plant for medicines? I want to know, why are we growing it and what's its use is.
Yeah.
Because some of these, we have friends that last year they decided, I don't want to keep going out to flower shops to buy my own flowers. And so they grew all their own flowers last year and they started selling them. Jamie, how much was it? Like $20 or $30 for a bouquet? But it wasn't anything.
I think it was around, it was around like $30.
Huh.
Yeah. It wasn't anything special. Like, I could have gone to Costco and bought, 2 dozen roses or a full bouquet for less than that and gotten more out of it. But that was something for us that was, hey, if these flowers come back year after year and we buy it once.
Yeah.
I mean, violets, roses, there's your rose water. Helps with sunflowers, that kind of stuff. Lavender. Baby's breath just looks good to when you're making bouquets and that kind of stuff. But looking at each one of these and seeing what their benefits are is going to be huge for us in our garden. So not only do we want to do our normal vegetables and fruits and that kind of stuff, but we want to start figuring out what's going to make our yard look fantastic, what's going to allow the bees to keep coming back more and more to keep producing honey. So that's our long-term goal, is when we get to a point where we start homesteading. I plan on having some type of orchard. I'd love to have an apple orchard. And bees is a natural piece to pollinate all those trees for you so that you can actually make apples. Again, for people that don't know, bees are kind of a big deal. If they don't spread the pollination, you're not going to get fruits. You're not going to get your apples, your pears, your oranges, your peaches. It just doesn't happen without bees. Yeah. People don't realize that.
No, that's true. Speaking of your homestead, this isn't really switching. No, this is sort of switching gears a little bit because we're coming up on time. However, speaking of you guys, since I got you both here, and I can get two different perspectives and opinions on this now. So with your guys' so it's our dream too. Like that's the whole goal, right? We eventually want to have a homestead, something with some land, where we're not restricted by like, municipalities saying that I can't put solar panels in my yard without going through a process or some expensive permit. I'm not. Anyway, that's our dreams. That's our goal. All that. No, seriously. That I have to listen, for a building permit. You can get a building permit in my municipality for $50, right? But if I want to go put solar panels up, I got to pay $2,000 for a conditional use permit and go in front of a board, and it's public hearing and all that crap. It's dumb. It's as dumb or even dumber than this people with good credit now having to pay higher low level loan level fee, 1% whatever
more.
In any case, all right. So, has those conversations? I mean, those are ongoing with my wife and I. Like, hey, it's just timing and figuring out when's the best time to go. And trying to balance like what's going on in the world with not only what's going on geopolitically, but on the home front with finances in the housing market and all that. It's all timing. But if the housing market were to collapse today, or if the time was like right for us to like jump on something, I don't know if we can potentially do it now because we're not ready for it. So that's what's kind of stopping us from like making this move to like really go all out on this. For you guys, like, where's the conversation at with your homestead, your farm, your boat? They're smiling like, oh boy, did I open up a can here? Or like, if I open up a can
I would love to hear.
If I open up a can of worms, if I open up a can of worms, we could just take one worm out and shut the can real quick if we have to. But I'm curious to see where you guys are at, because I'm sure a lot of people out there that kind of have this dream of homesteading and all that. It's just a big change, right? It's a huge life change, right? And we talk about it. We could talk till we're blue in the face, but until we actually like put action to that, like it's just talk. So we're just still in the talking phase. We haven't put any action to it. So I was just curious where you guys are at on that.
Go for it, Miss Preppin Patriot. Yeah, I want to hear your opinion on this.
So I am the roadblock. I know I'm the roadblock. I am a huge family person. So family is super important to me, which it is to Cameron too. I'm not going to discount that at all. But so I lost my dad in 2016. So it's just my mom, and my brother lives 2 hours away from us. So, and my mom's my best friend. Okay. She is like, we're one of those mother-daughter duos. So, and her parents are old. My grandma just turned 90. My grandpa's turning 92 or 93 in a couple of weeks here. So yeah, so they're both old, but literally age runs in the family. Like my grandpa's mom was 101 when she died. My grandma's dad was 99 when he died. Like they lived amazing lives. Like that was actually Cameron's first big family event. He went to my great grandma's funeral in Darlington, Indiana, Podunk, Indiana, literally like a one stoplight town. So he survived. So I've told him, like, we kind of have to wait and wait out for my grandparents to pass. That sounds awful, but that's a big thing for me. But I'm also, I struggle with, I said I have an education background, right? I went to school to teach kids. Like that's been my passion. I love children. Like my own get on my nerves 90% of the time, but I still love them. So that's been the conversation for us, has been, okay, if we went, we've traveled. So what was that, September, when we were supposed to be in Costa Rica or wherever it was, but it got canceled because of a hurricane.
Punta Cana.
We used that was it, Punta Cana, our favorite spot. We used that opportunity to get in the car, and Cameron and I drove through West Virginia, Tennessee, Virginia. Like we drove through those spots that we want to ultimately settle down in. Like we want to live somewhere where people are not. Like, and I'm an extrovert, so that's a huge thing for me to say like, I want to live where there is no one, or, you know, there's somebody a mile away or whatever. And we've kind of gotten some glimpses, like some of our best friends, they live in Kentucky, and they were just able to purchase an amazing spot with land. I can't even remember how many acres they have. They just put a pond in, like they want to get chickens. They want to have goats, like all these things. So Cameron and I are both like, you're literally living what we want, but we don't live like you. We live in a spot where we can't have chickens. We can't put up solar panels. Like, but you know, we put nasty notes on our neighbor's front yard, but we can't have a solar panel. That would help us all. It's fine. It's whatever. So it's the same conversations. Like it's could we really up and move and be off the grid and be gone, or even just start taking those steps? Because I am still, I don't want to call myself a city girl, but like I like having a Walmart 5 minutes away. I like having, you know,
Target. You missed Target. You missed Starbucks.
Yes. You missed. I would miss Target. No, I wouldn't miss Starbucks.
Not
actually.
Starbucks.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
miss Starbucks. But there are things that I would miss, and there are those, like the friends that I have that are some of my best friends. Like, I would miss not having them by me, and that's where we've had the conversation. We would have to make sure whatever house we built, because that's what we want to do, is build the house and be able to have all the say in what goes into it.
Yep.
We have to have a spot where our friends can stay with us, our family can stay with us. We've talked about whatever the next house is, we would have a mother-in-law home, so my mom could be on the property but still have her own life. She could still have her own house, her own kitchen, her own garage, but she's on the property, so that, when she's 95 years old, she's just right across the driveway. But I know that I'm the roadblock. Like, I'm the one that, Cameron, you guys have amazing jobs where you can literally work wherever there's an internet connection. So that's fantastic. Like, we've started making those moves. We've started taking baby steps to get us to what we want. And knowing, I just had a conversation with our financial advisor guy yesterday. And I said, listen, here's our 2-year plan, our 5-year plan, our 10-year plan. I need this amount of money to be liquid in 10 years, but I need it to still make money. Tell me how to do it. So there's been baby steps made, but I'm the one that's causing problems.
Yeah. And then I'll start going from my side of the house. While she's figuring out all of that, I've been doing kind of the preps for it in the meantime. So I see the financial collapse coming just like you do. Mm-hmm. I see a lot of the tanking of the stock market. The houses are going to start going down lower and lower. We had that big bubble where people were starting to spend an ungodly amount of money on houses, and now they're never going to get their money back for that money that was put into it. Nope. People that are paying $40,000 to $80,000 plus over asking price just to get that property. Yeah. It was like 3-4 months later that was kind of pointless. Now people are not paying that much anymore. We're already seeing it where the market's not doing well. The houses are just not selling as easily now. People's finances are getting tighter and tighter with the rise in inflation, with the rise in debt, with the rise in whatever. I see it getting to a point where houses are going to start getting cheaper and cheaper just so that they can sell. I also see land going down in cost, just because people are wanting to sell off that land, even though land is probably your best equity, best physical asset that you can have, because land's always going to go up in value. But with the possible crash of the dollar coming and that kind of stuff, how do you pay for that? How do you get enough money to actually be able to pay for that land or pay for that property? Whether it be a house or land plus a house. So I've been looking at what kind of physical assets like gold and silver and that kind of stuff we could start pumping our cash into, where even if that value drops, or so like say the dollar ends up skyrocketing and it costs you, $100 for a loaf of bread. People, it's a joke, but it's not. It has happened many places. So I'm kind of doing those preps myself on trying to get our finances to a point where I can start turning cash into gold and silver, turning cash into a physical asset, so that we can then cash that in at some point in time to be able to pay for that property or pay for the housing to get what we want. Yeah. And I've brought it up to Jamie, but I haven't really gone too far into this because of, the whole family connection and family ties. But, originally I was very interested in the East, the Appalachian Mountains and just how beautiful it is, and the countryside. And, but with all of the chemicals and all that crap that's been pouring into our rivers, pouring into our atmosphere on the East Coast specifically, you look at Minnesota and the toxic nuclear waste that's been traveling down the Mississippi. You look at the train derailments that are happening everywhere. The amount of burning toxic components that come into that, and how it's just continually recycling itself. Because I can't remember what the type of chemical is called, but it's something along the lines of like it continues to seep into the ground and continues to seep into the water. It seeps into your even your, why am I blanking on it? Your water. If you find a water,
like your well and stuff
on your property, not a well, but a natural spring. It's seeping into natural springs. I don't necessarily want to be on the East Coast anymore. You know, if there were to be a collapse, it's a much more condensed area. There's a lot more people per square mile. Where are they going to go if they need to get away from the cities? If they need to get away from all that stuff, I don't want to have to build based on, and I get it. It's a fear. It's this. I mean, you could call it whatever you want. It's still something I'm thinking about. I'd prefer to, we watch a show called Yellowstone, and they've got different parts to it now. You've got 1923, 1887. We love, or 1883. We love all of them. We're up to date on everything.
Yeah.
But Yellowstone's a great example where, when he ended up getting the land in that valley between all the mountains, and the Indians said, in 10 generations, my family is going to take this back. I don't want to invest in property, invest in land that I know is going to turn into a shitstorm or, turn into a chemical waste or whatever 5, 10, 15 years down the road, where now I just wasted my time and my investment and my money into something that's not going to be worth I want to be able to pass something down to our kids. Yeah. Is that something I feel that I can pass down to our kids? Probably not at this point.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at more heading west, but that takes us away from family. That takes us away from all that stuff. So when you start getting to the higher elevations in Colorado, I'm not saying Colorado is where I'm looking. I'm looking at many places out west. I don't want to be on the West Coast. I'm not saying that far. I'm saying like West Central. What do you call that? I mean, it's like the Colorado, Montana down like to northern Texas, Rocky Mountain area. Yeah, the Eastern Rockies.
Yeah,
is where I'm looking.
Which makes sense. I would say I'm kind of in the same mindset as you. The whole economy, like I'm every day that goes by, I'm more and more convinced that there's probably not going to be this fast overnight crash and burn scenario with the economy. I think it's going to be frog boiling in water, slowly going down. And it'll never have a moment of like, it's crashed. Like we'll never have that day. It's like on June 21st, 2024, the stock market crashed and that's when we went into a depression. No, I just think it's going to keep going down. So I'm kind of playing the long game on this. And there's so much to think about though, too. Like on one side, you're like, okay, well, I could play the 5-year game in this and save money, pay off debt, as much debt as I can possibly pay off, bank all that cash, get some physical assets, gold, silver. And then when the market, housing and land market is right, go pay cash for something. Go pay, because land out, like there's a place in Kentucky, you're paying like, I don't know, $1,000 to $1,500 an acre in like the boondocks of Kentucky, right? So
Virginia,
most people
$1,000 an acre.
If you save up 40, 50 grand, you could potentially get 40 acres of land for that amount of money. And those deals are still around right now. They're just in areas that nobody wants to live because there's no services or they don't have it's literally raw land. But I can play this 5-year game, but you have so much more to think about. Like, okay, if I get my mind on this 5-year plan, well, we're in solar maximum right now. So like, there's a greater than 50% chance that the sun unleashes the solar flare this sunspot cycle. And if it doesn't, great.
Yeah.
But
that's a great point.
What do you do now? Do you rush it? I don't want to say rush it, but do you elevate the urgency to get to your final place because of a scenario that we believe is going to happen? We just aren't sure if it's going to happen in the next 2 years or the next 14 years. It just depends. We just don't, and nobody can tell us, and nobody knows for sure. So those are the two scenarios that play out in my mind. Like elevated, like urgency to get this stuff done now, or prep for if it does happen, we're good where we're at, or we can make do with where we're at, or have some kind of location we can go to or something, and then as plan B. But plan A is ultimately going to be that 5-year plan. Like, that's kind of where my head is at. So
and that's where I'm at right now is I'm waiting for that 2-year solar maximum piece to end.
Yeah.
And that's when I plan on going out, and like when I know we're out of that thick, I would hate to start moving now.
Right.
Like, honey, we're selling everything. We're moving out into,
we're moving to
Colorado
Virginia.
and to the middle of nowhere. And then boom, something happens and we are not prepared and not ready for it. She won't do it. I know we won't do it. The kids love their school. They love their sports. They love their, there's no way to change. But 2 years, 3 years, that's something where I can have that, like, we're out of that solar piece. I have a better, more confident feeling that, okay, I've got 10 years, 12, 14 years to prepare for this bigger thing that's going to be happening. We know it's going to be happening. The data is there. You brought up a great point in a side topic on a podcast, probably 10 episodes ago at this point. And you brought up a great, your phrase was, if you know this is coming, what would you be willing to do to make sure that you survive it, or something like that? So it was something you had said to your wife. I brought up the same thing to Jamie, saying if we know this is coming, and you have every bit of the money and the ability to make those changes now, why would you not do something to put yourself in a better position?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I mean,
it's the fear.
That's true.
It's the fear of change. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's the fear of change. My wife's the same way. Like, she agrees with me. Like, yeah, we should prep, all that stuff. When we talk about actually physically acting on change, like, she's not a creature. She's not a change agent. I am a change agent. I will move anywhere every 2 years because I don't care. I don't care where I'm at. I don't have every place that I've lived. There's my friend group is super, super, super small because I'm a very difficult person to be a friend with. So, but you and I work, so we're good. But in any case, no, it's the fear of change.
Winning.
And that's what it is. It's the fear of change. People talk about prepping and they may do some things that they're, but if you firmly believe something, like a solar flare is coming, why wouldn't you make that? Why wouldn't you change your environment to where you can actually survive this stuff? How serious are you about it? But the other side of things too is the solar flare is like one of how many things that can potentially crash and burn in the next 10 years. It's like, that's just one of them.
Yeah.
We know that one's coming, but I can only imagine if any of the other things, all the other people are talking about, financial collapse, World War III, nuclear Armageddon, right? All this stuff that people talk about could happen before the solar flare takes out all of technology. So can you just why wouldn't you want to put yourself in a position where you're listen, I'm a down to earth guy. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm just a normal dude that works in his basement, and that's just me, right? But why wouldn't I want to be in a place where I could potentially survive this stuff? I mean, to be honest.
Yep. That's what we're working towards. We're doing the short-term things right now.
Yeah.
Gold, silver, getting our finances in order, getting our life in order. What do we need? What do we not need? We're going through all that right now, cleansing and purging the house of all the crap from the kids' toys and that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh.
What do we do for? Yeah, we're going through everything right now. And in my book, we've got 2 years. 2 years to get it all figured out. I don't know what the plan is in 2 years. We may move, we may not move, we may change minds on, we may decide, yep, no matter what, we're going to head to the Appalachia, not the Rockies. But we've got 2 years to get it done. And so
I'm watching Jamie's
now the wife
expression
knows.
as you're
She knows.
talking through all this, and as I'm talking, I watch her expressions laugh, smile, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I cannot play poker. I'm an awful poker player because no. He even knows. He'll bring this stuff up, and I will just sit there, and he goes, "You've either stopped listening." That's normally one of them, or it's you're not on board. And I know exactly where our 6-year-old gets it. Like he talks with his eyebrows all the time. I talk with my eyebrows all the time. Like that always happens because I just go, "What are you talking about?" Like no, or I have some kind of a facial expression, you know. But it is hard. Like it's hard being the wife. We don't research these things, right? Like we're not the researchers. We're the wives. Like I'm not discounting being a wife. I'm not discounting being a mom. Like just putting that out there. But that's part of our job is we just take care of the house and you guys do these things to protect our home. That's part of the male's job is to protect their home. The female's job is to make their house a home and the males protect it. So when you come to us and say there's a potential problem, we go, but look at what we've done. Like we've made this house a home. We've made it comfortable. We've raised our kids here. Now you're telling me I have to move it and we're going to have to start over and I'm going to have to figure out another group of mom friends or, you know, you're going to have to figure out another way to protect that home and what lies out there. Like that is a big mom thing, a wife thing. Like we do our job to make sure our home is comfortable, that you are taken care of. And then to tell us that, hey, it's time to move because we can't protect this one anymore. It's okay. Well, okay. 2 years. I have 2 years. Okay. Sounds good. 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. Now you know.
You and my wife are very, very much alike. I have her for about 10 minutes before she's done. Like either she's so stressed out because I'm intense. Like I have intensity when I talk about this stuff. I have a big voice and I have a big intensity. So she's either scared out of her mind and doesn't want to listen anymore, or I just keep talking about the same thing over and over and over again because I don't think she's hearing me and she's gone, right? So I know when I talk to her about this stuff, I have about 10 minutes to make my point, and she's on board. And you know, she's not against any of this stuff, but she's like you when I start talking about change and like, hey, this property that we're on is good property. I mean, we've got 3.5 acres. We can do a big garden. We do have chickens now. I can't have solar panels, but it's okay. Like it works. So, but it's not our final resting place. And then her guy's just like, really? Again? Like we've moved like a bazillion times since we've been married. I think 8 or 9 times we've moved since we've been married. I think she wants to just be done moving. So I think I got her convinced, like just one more. We got one more in us. So
just make sure it counts.
I gotta make sure it counts.
Because if you don't make sure it counts, then you're stuck.
Yeah. So that's why we're like, and I justify like, hey, we're going to this timber framing thing. We want to build. And I showed her timber framed houses, what they look like. She's like, oh, that's so cool. Are we going?
Yes, you and I need to get that booked. I just talked about that today, and there's a limited number of seats, and I'm just getting more and more fearful that we're gonna miss it and not be able to do it. So tomorrow,
let's get that booked.
Let's get it booked. Let's get it done. Because I don't want to be like, oh, well, only one of us can get in, or they're already booked and
I need
whatever.
to test preps.
I don't want that issue.
I need to test preps, man. I need to bring the eco flows out there. I need to bring
book it first, and then we'll figure out what we're going to test. Okay. Right, we'll do that tomorrow.
I also have something very important. Okay, this is a very important matter. Did your wife tell you the name that I picked out for one of your chickens?
She just mentioned before I came down on, get ready for the show tonight. She's like, we need to start naming chickens. I'm like, I am not naming these chickens. These are not pets to me. These are product, right? They're producing eggs for me. The second they stop producing eggs, they go on the table and go in my belly. She didn't like that.
Okay, well, you're going to name at least one of them because I'm very proud of myself, okay? I'm very proud of myself. One of them has to be named Leia because she will be laying eggs. You're welcome.
Oof, that's rough. I mean,
It was so good. I was so proud of myself. I was like, Leia, it fits.
I saw this on TikTok
Star
once,
Wars,
and I thought,
like,
that is so good.
Oh my
God.
God.
This is all me. Okay? Like, this goes back to my whole... No, like this just takes me back to we were in Kentucky and I solved the world's problems, but I was under the influence. So
yeah,
I don't remember solving the world's problems or the way that I
still need to
get
her.
Was
it's a good name.
I still need to get her, like, I'm working on her as far as like when we do have a homestead animals and stuff, like, you have to understand the pigs we get, they're not pets. Like, they're going to consume. We're going to kill them and we're going to consume them. And she just can't. She wanted to be a veterinarian before she was a nurse. So I see where her love for animals is. But like, when it the chickens are going to be the ultimate test. Like, they're not. I'm not naming a chicken, right? Because it's there to lay eggs. I have to do the beef. I have to do the
no.
beef every show.
Yeah, you're going to name your chickens because they're not meat birds. They're egg birds, and you will treat your birds as nicely as possible so they can continue to keep delivering you the eggs that you want. It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. Your daughter's going to name one. Your wife's going to name one. You're going to name one. And you're going to have a favorite. You're going to know this one doesn't attack me. I can pick it up.
Nope.
It's going to be Leia.
It's going to happen.
It's Leia.
Nope.
Leia will be your favorite.
Nope. I will not get emotionally attached.
Because it be a Leian.
It be a Leian. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well,
Okay.
In any case, I need to push this button. No, not that button. This button. Okay.
Yes. Just
Anyway.
about me.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. She's like, no. Oh, this has gone way off topic, but you know what? It's fine. So we're going to end it. What do we want for closing music? Let's do this one.
Dun-dum, ba-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, let's do this one. This is cool. All right. All right, here we go. Okay, any final thoughts?
Well,
from
thank
guys
you for listening.
Before we close.
Give flowers a
Glyphosate.
chance.
Give flowers a chance.
Give flowers
Yeah,
a chance. And if you don't know something, we have the resource. Google it. Look it up.
Yeah.
Why should I plant this? Why should I, like, as you guys have said, if it's to get honeybees, whatever, Google it. If you don't know, Google it. Go to the library, check out a book. You got resources. Use them.
My piece is going to be glyphosate. GLYPHOSATE. Okay. That's Roundup. Look at the causes and effects of that in our environment. Your mind is going to be blown, people. I'm telling you. It's affecting everything in everyday life, and you don't even know it. But it's the #1 used weed prevention for all farmers.
Alrighty then. Okay. Well, gosh, there's so much stuff I have to go look up now. But in any case, guys, thanks for sticking with us. We're at time. We're gonna do this again on Tuesday. I don't know. We'll talk about something on Tuesday that has to deal with long. I have some ideas, but it was great to have Mrs. Preppin Patriot on. And there's like a million questions I still have for her so we need to bring her back at some point to talk about some more like
the wives.
Perspective.
We just need to bring the wives on.
I know.
The
I've been trying
wives.
to. Now my wife is like, I can't. She says she can't. So she may need some.
Listen,
convincing.
I'll work my magic, okay? Like,
I'll work
my magic. I got you.
Work your magic. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys sticking with us. Remember, if you are watching this post live show, be sure to hit the like, subscribe, comment, do whatever the kids are doing these days with these videos to make the whatever algorithmic thing happen. And leave us some feedback. And we will see you guys on Tuesday. Oh wait, today's Tuesday. We'll see you on Thursday. Or is today Thursday?
Oh my gosh, it is
I don't even know
Tuesday.
what
No, it is
freaking
Tuesday.
day. It's
We'll see you on
Tuesday.
Thursday.
Okay.
All right,
See you on
guys, we will
Thursday.
see you on Thursday. Thanks for sticking with us, and we are out. Are we out? We're not out yet. Oh my gosh, the production value is just horrible today. Okay,
He's
now
fired.
we're out. Now we're out. We'll see you guys later. Listening to the Preppin' Patriots podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a 5-star review. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so at contact@preppinpatriots.stream. And finally, this episode was sponsored by nobody.